Imagine, if you will, a vast and ancient library. Within its walls are countless books, each one containing the complete history and instructions for a unique living being. These books are not written with words, but with a special code, a language that life itself has been speaking for billions of years. This code is what we call DNA, and the individual sentences and paragraphs within these magnificent books are the genes. Every living thing, from the smallest bacterium slumbering in the soil to the great blue whale gliding through the ocean depths, carries this remarkable library within each and every one of its cells. It is the fundamental blueprint of life, a delicate yet powerful script that dictates the very essence of what we are. These genes are, in essence, recipes. They are instructions that tell a living organism how to grow, how to function, and how to live. One gene might hold the recipe for the color of a flower's petals, instructing the plant to produce a vibrant red pigment to attract buzzing bees. Another gene might contain the instructions for the length of a giraffe's neck, allowing it to reach the highest, most succulent leaves on the acacia tree. In our own bodies, genes determine the color of our eyes, the texture of our hair, and even our susceptibility to certain illnesses. They are the master architects, meticulously designing every feature that makes a creature what it is, a true miracle of biological engineering. The passing of these genetic instructions from one generation to the next is one of nature's most profound processes. When a plant sets seed or an animal gives birth, it is passing on a copy of its own unique blueprint. However, this process is not always a perfect duplication. Often, the offspring receives a mix of genes from two parents, creating a brand new combination, a fresh chapter in the story of its species. This mixing and shuffling of genes is the very engine of diversity, ensuring that no two individuals, save for identical twins, are ever exactly the same. It is a continuous, beautiful dance of inheritance that has been unfolding since the dawn of life on our planet. So, when we look at any living creature, we are witnessing the magnificent result of these genetic instructions at work. A soaring eagle's sharp eyesight, a cheetah's incredible speed, a tree's ability to turn sunlight into energy. All of these wondrous abilities are written in their genes. This genetic code is the invisible thread that connects all life, a shared language that tells a story of survival, adaptation, and endless, breathtaking beauty. Understanding this simple truth is the first step towards appreciating the sheer wonder of the natural world and the intricate web of life that we are all a part of. It is a world built upon a foundation of these tiny, powerful, and utterly essential blueprints. The genetic code, this blueprint of life, is not a static, unchanging document. Instead, it is a dynamic script, subject to tiny alterations and variations over time. These small changes, known as mutations, are like little typographical errors in the grand book of life. Most are harmless, some can be detrimental, but every now and then, a small change can introduce a new and wonderful trait. It is through this gentle, constant process of change and recombination that genes create the astonishing variety we see all around us. It is the reason why one forest is filled with oak trees of slightly different heights, and why a single family of foxes can have coats ranging from fiery red to dusky gray. Think of it as a master painter with a palette of colors. The basic colors are the genes shared by all members of a species, but by mixing these colors in slightly different ways, the painter can create an infinite spectrum of shades and hues. In the same way, nature mixes and matches genes to produce a spectacular array of individuals. This is why a field of wildflowers is never uniform. Some flowers may be taller, some may have slightly larger petals, and others may be more resistant to drought. Each one is a unique expression of its genetic potential, a singular work of art contributing to the beauty of the whole landscape. This genetic variation is what we call biodiversity at its most fundamental level. It is the variety within a species itself. While we can easily see the diversity between a lion and a tiger, it is the more subtle diversity among the lions themselves that often holds the key to their long-term survival. Some lions might have genes that give them a slight advantage in hunting at night, while others might possess a greater resistance to a local disease. These are not dramatic differences visible to the naked eye, but they are crucial variations woven into the fabric of the population, providing a hidden layer of strength and resilience. Ultimately, genes are the raw material for evolution. They provide the options from which natural selection can choose. When the environment changes, a climate becomes colder, a new predator arrives, or a food source becomes scarce, it is this pre-existing genetic variety that allows a species to adapt. Individuals with genes that happen to be advantageous in the new conditions are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing those beneficial traits on to their offspring. In this way, nature's wonderful tapestry is constantly being rewoven, with genes providing the colorful threads that allow life to persist and flourish in an ever-changing world. The results of genetic diversity are on display everywhere we look, in every corner of our planet. Consider the humble dog, our loyal companion. From the towering Great Dane to the tiny Chihuahua, the immense variety in breeds is a testament to the power of genetics. Although they are all members of the same species, Canis lupus familiaris, their genes have been selected by humans over centuries to express an extraordinary range of sizes, shapes, colors, and temperaments. This incredible diversity all stems from the same ancestral wolf genome, demonstrating the vast potential locked within a single species' genetic code, waiting to be expressed. In the plant kingdom, the evidence is just as striking. Journey to the Andes Mountains, the birthplace of the potato. Here, local farmers cultivate thousands of different varieties. You will find potatoes that are purple, red, yellow, and blue. Potatoes that are long and thin, or round and knobbly. Potatoes that thrive in high altitudes, and others that resist frost. Each variety possesses a unique set of genes that makes it perfectly suited to its specific environment. This dazzling array is not just a feast for the eyes. It is a living library of genetic traits that holds immense value for global food security, providing a resource for breeding more resilient crops in the future. Even within our own species, Homo sapiens' genetic diversity is a beautiful and vital characteristic. It is written in the magnificent spectrum of our skin tones, the varied textures of our hair, and the unique features of our faces. Beyond these visible traits, our genetic differences also influence our internal workings, such as our different blood types and our varying abilities to digest certain foods. This diversity is a core part of our human story, reflecting our species' long journey and adaptation to different environments all across the globe. It is a reminder that our differences are not just superficial, but are a fundamental part of what makes our species so adaptable and successful. From the brilliantly colored feathers of macaws in the Amazon, where subtle genetic shifts create a rainbow of plumage, to the unique stripe patterns of every single zebra on the African savanna, nature celebrates individuality. No two individuals are quite the same, and that is the point. This endless variation is not a flaw in the system. It is the system's greatest strength. It is the engine of adaptation, the source of beauty, and the very foundation of a healthy, vibrant, and resilient living world. Embracing this world of difference means appreciating the profound wisdom encoded in life's variety. A forest is far more than just a collection of trees. It is a complex living community, a bustling metropolis of interconnected lives. The health and resilience of this entire ecosystem depend heavily on the genetic diversity held within its dominant species, the trees themselves. Imagine a vast forest of ash trees. If every tree were genetically identical, they would all share the same strengths, but crucially, they would also all share the same weaknesses. A single disease, like the devastating ash dieback fungus, could sweep through the forest like a fire, leaving nothing but dead and dying trees in its wake, because no individual would have the genetic tools to fight it off. Now picture a different forest. This one is also filled with ash trees, but it is rich in genetic diversity. Some trees have genes that allow them to grow slightly faster, others have deeper roots to withstand drought, and a precious few, by sheer chance, may carry genes that give them a natural resistance to the dieback fungus. When the disease arrives, it will still affect many trees. However, those few resistant individuals will survive. They will continue to grow, produce seeds, and pass on their valuable disease-resistant genes to the next generation. In time, the forest can recover, repopulated by the descendants of these genetic champions. This principle extends beyond just resistance to disease. A genetically diverse forest is better equipped to handle a wide range of environmental challenges. As climates change, bringing longer droughts or more intense rainfall, some trees will have genetic traits that allow them to cope better than their neighbors. Some may be more efficient at water uptake, while others might be better at resisting wind damage. This variety acts as a natural insurance policy for the entire ecosystem. It ensures that no single event, whether it be a pest outbreak, a sudden frost, or a prolonged heat wave, can completely wipe out the forest. The strength of the forest, therefore, lies not in uniformity, but in its rich tapestry of genetic differences. This diversity among the trees provides stability for the entire community of life that depends on them: the insects, the birds, the mammals, and the fungi. A resilient forest, one that can bend without breaking, is one that is built on a foundation of wide-ranging genetic potential. It is a powerful and living demonstration that in nature, variety is not just the spice of life, it is the very key to its endurance and long-term survival. The vast blue expanse of our world's oceans holds mysteries we are only just beginning to understand. Beneath the surface, life thrives in incredible abundance and variety. And just like the forests on land, the resilience of these marine ecosystems is fundamentally linked to genetic diversity. Consider the magnificent coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea. These vibrant, complex structures are built by tiny animals, and their survival in our warming world depends almost entirely on the genetic lottery. A coral reef is not a single entity, but a teeming colony of genetically distinct individuals. As ocean temperatures rise due to climate change, corals face a severe threat known as bleaching. The heat stresses the coral, causing it to expel the colorful algae that live within its tissues and provide it with food. If the water remains too warm for too long, the bleached coral will starve and die. However, within a single reef, some coral colonies, due to their unique genetic makeup, are naturally more tolerant to heat than others. These resilient corals may be able to withstand higher temperatures or recover more quickly from a bleaching event. They are the ocean's hope for the future. These heat-resistant corals are the key to the reef's survival. They act as a hidden fortress, a bastion of resilience against the rising tide of environmental change. After a mass bleaching event devastates a reef, it is these genetically robust individuals that are most likely to survive. They become the crucial source of larvae for recolonizing and rebuilding the reef. Without this underlying genetic diversity, a single prolonged heat wave could cause an entire reef system to collapse permanently, taking with it the thousands of species of fish, crabs, and other creatures that call it home, a catastrophic loss for marine life. The same principle applies to other marine life, from schools of cod to pods of whales. A genetically diverse population of fish, for example, will contain individuals with different growth rates, feeding habits, and resistance to pollution or disease. This variety helps the population to withstand pressures like overfishing and changing ocean conditions. It ensures that at least some part of the population can adapt and thrive, safeguarding this species for the future. The ocean's health depends on this hidden internal strength, a powerful reminder that the key to enduring future challenges lies in the rich genetic heritage of the life it holds. For thousands of years, humanity has been shaping the genetic destiny of the plants and animals that sustain us. Agriculture itself is a story of genetics. Our ancestors, with remarkable intuition, selected seeds from the hardiest plants and bred the most productive animals. This long history has given us the crops and livestock we rely on today. Yet, in our modern world, we have often favored uniformity over diversity, planting vast fields with a single high-yielding variety of corn or wheat. While this approach can be highly productive, it also creates a fragile system, one that is honestly dangerously vulnerable to collapse. Genetic diversity on the farm is like having a well-diversified financial portfolio. It is a strategy for managing risk. If a farmer plants only one type of potato, and a new blight appears to which that variety is susceptible, the entire crop could be lost. This is precisely what happened during the Great Famine in Ireland in the 1840s. The widespread cultivation of a single potato variety, the Irish lumper, led to a national catastrophe when a disease swept through the fields. A farm with many different varieties of potatoes, however, would likely see some of them survive, ensuring that there is still food to harvest and seeds for the next season. This variety is not just for preventing disaster, it is also a toolkit for innovation and adaptation. As the climate changes, farmers need crops that can tolerate new conditions, such as drought, heat, or increased salinity in the soil. The genes for these valuable traits are often found not in modern, uniform crops, but in their wild relatives or in traditional, locally adapted landraces. By preserving these older varieties of wheat, rice, and corn, we are protecting a treasure trove of genetic solutions to future problems. They are the farmer's best friend, providing the raw materials needed to breed the resilient crops of tomorrow. Furthermore, genetic diversity in livestock is equally important. Traditional breeds of cattle, sheep, and pigs are often hardier and better adapted to local environments than modern high-production breeds. They may be more resistant to local diseases, better able to thrive on poor-quality forage, and require fewer expensive inputs. Protecting these heritage breeds is not an act of nostalgia. It is a vital strategy for ensuring the long-term sustainability of our food systems. It ensures we have a broad genetic base to draw upon as we face the unpredictable challenges of a changing world, securing our ability to feed ourselves for generations to come. One of the most compelling stories of genetics in action is that of the peppered moth in 19th century England. It is a classic tale of adaptation, a living demonstration of how genetic diversity allows a species to survive in a rapidly changing world. Before the Industrial Revolution, the peppered moth was typically a pale, speckled creature. This light coloring was a brilliant form of camouflage, allowing it to blend in perfectly against the lichen-covered bark of trees, making it almost invisible to predatory birds. In the moth population, there was also a rare dark-colored form, caused by a genetic mutation. This dark form was at a distinct disadvantage. Against the pale trees, its black wings stood out, making it an easy target for birds. As a result, the dark moths were rare, their genes kept at a low frequency within the population. However, the world was about to change dramatically. The Industrial Revolution began to billow smoke and soot from factories across the cities and countryside. This pollution blackened the tree trunks and killed the pale lichens, completely transforming the moth's habitat. Suddenly, the tables had turned in this game of genetic survival. On the newly darkened trees, the light-colored moths were now terribly conspicuous. They were easily spotted and eaten by birds, and their numbers plummeted. The rare dark moths, however, now found themselves perfectly camouflaged against the sooty bark. Their genetic variation, once a liability, had become their greatest asset. They survived, reproduced, and passed their genes for dark coloration onto their offspring. Within just a few decades, the dark form of the peppered moth, once a rarity, became the most common form in industrial areas. The species had adapted, thanks to its pre-existing genetic diversity. This story is a powerful illustration of natural selection at work. It shows that a genetic trait's value is entirely dependent on the environment. The peppered moth population did not decide to become darker. Rather, the environment selected for the individuals that already possess the genes for that trait. Without that initial variation, without those few dark moths already present in the population, the species might have been wiped out in those polluted areas. The peppered moth story is a clear and elegant testament to the fact that genetic diversity is not an abstract concept, but a life or death matter for the survival of a species. As we stand at this unique point in our planet's history, the importance of protecting genetic diversity has never been more urgent. This rich variety of life, from the level of genes to species to entire ecosystems, is the foundation of our own well-being and the key to a sustainable future. It is not a luxury we can afford to lose. It is an absolute necessity. The genetic library of life contains the answers to challenges we have not yet even encountered. It holds the potential for new medicines, more resilient crops, and new materials that could transform our world in ways we cannot yet imagine. Consider the field of medicine. A huge number of our most effective drugs, from aspirin to powerful cancer treatments, originated from compounds found in plants, animals, and microbes. Each species that goes extinct, and each population that loses its genetic diversity, represents the permanent loss of a unique chemical library. We may be losing the cure for a future disease before we even know the disease exists. By protecting the world's biodiversity, we are safeguarding a treasure trove of potential solutions, keeping our options open for the health and healing of future generations of humanity. Furthermore, our economies and societies are deeply intertwined with the natural world. The genetic diversity within fish populations underpins global fishing industries. The variety within wild pollinators like bees and butterflies is essential for the production of a third of the food we eat. Healthy, diverse ecosystems provide us with clean air and water, regulate our climate, and protect our coastlines from storms. When we erode genetic diversity, we are destabilizing these vital services, weakening the very systems that support human civilization. Protecting biodiversity is, therefore, not just an environmental issue. It is a fundamental economic and social imperative. Looking ahead, our planet faces unprecedented challenges, most notably a rapidly changing climate. The ability of life on Earth, including ourselves, to adapt to these changes will depend entirely on the genetic resources available. A world rich in genetic diversity is a resilient world, one that has the flexibility to absorb shocks and evolve in response to new pressures. A world poor in diversity is brittle and fragile, prone to collapse. Our shared future depends on which path we choose. The responsibility to preserve this precious genetic heritage, a gift from billions of years of evolution, now rests firmly in our hands. The task of protecting the Earth's immense biodiversity can seem overwhelming, a challenge fit only for governments and large organizations. But that is simply not true. Every single one of us has a role to play, and our collective actions can create a powerful wave of positive change. One of the most direct ways to help is by being mindful of what we consume. By choosing sustainably sourced products, whether it is food, wood, or seafood, we reduce the pressure on threatened ecosystems. Supporting local farmers who practice sustainable agriculture and cultivate heritage crop varieties also helps to maintain vital genetic diversity right in our own communities. We can also become guardians of biodiversity in our own backyards and local spaces. Planting native flowers, shrubs, and trees provides essential food and shelter for local wildlife, particularly pollinators like bees and butterflies. Avoiding the use of pesticides and herbicides helps to create a safe haven for insects and other small creatures that form the base of the food web. Even a small balcony garden or a window box planted with native species can become a vital stepping stone for wildlife, helping to connect fragmented habitats and support local populations. Every patch of green, no matter how small, can contribute to the larger tapestry of life. Education and advocacy are also powerful tools. We can learn more about the unique ecosystems in our own region and share that knowledge with friends and family. By developing a deeper appreciation for the natural world, we inspire others to care for it as well. We can support conservation organizations that work to protect habitats and species around the globe. We can use our voices to encourage our leaders to enact strong policies that protect wild spaces, combat climate change, and promote sustainable practices. Speaking up for nature is one of the most important things we can do to ensure its protection for the future. In the end, our greatest hope lies in fostering a renewed sense of connection with the natural world. It is about seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary, the intricate pattern on a butterfly's wing, the resilience of a wildflower pushing through concrete, the complex society of an anthill. When we recognize that we are not separate from nature, but an integral part of its magnificent and varied story, we are moved to protect it. The future of life's variety is not yet written. It will be determined by the choices we make today. Let us choose to be thoughtful, compassionate custodians of our planet, ensuring that its wonderful genetic tapestry remains rich and vibrant for all the generations to come.